Southeast Asian Student Coalition, the Asian Pacific American Student Development Office, the Asian Pacific American System-Wide Alliance, the UC Berkeley, the Asian American Law Journal, and the Asian American Bar Association of the Greater Bay Area. Thank you very much for coming tonight for our special guest lecture entitled Diversity Matters, Race, Affirmative Action, and Asian Americans in Higher Education, with distinguished professor of law and former chancellor and chief of UC Hastings College of Law, Frank Wu. Just a very quick note about the format of this event. At the conclusion of his remarks, Professor Wu has agreed to host a 1-minute question and answer period with us. If you have questions of him, please feel free to jot them down on the note cards provided and pass them up to us, and we'll make sure you get your questions answered. All right. In September of this year, the U.S. Justice Department backed a lawsuit accusing Harvard University of discriminating against Asian American applicants in its admissions process. More specifically, the Justice Department claimed that Harvard's use of race as a factor for deciding which students to admit has resulted in illegally discriminating against Asian Americans. Now, this controversy over Asian American admissions and affirmative action policies that we currently are witnessing at Harvard University is not new, but rather part of an ongoing discourse about Asian American access to higher education. In her seminal book about this subject, The Retreat from Race, Asian American Admissions and Racial Politics, Professor Dana Takagi analyzes admission policies at UC Berkeley, Brown, Stanford, Princeton, and Harvard, and demonstrates how the controversy over Asian American admissions to universities or these universities between 1983 to 1990 could be distinguished by 3 distinct historical periods. More specifically, she notes, during the first period from 1983 to 1986, Asian Americans characterized admissions problems as racial discrimination. From 1987 to 1988, university officials countered charges of racism by focusing on the need for diversity. Between 1989 to 1990, conservatives and neoconservatives interpreted the controversy as a result of affirmative action. Now, through this historical analysis, Professor Takagi demonstrates how the Asian American admissions controversy actually has shifted the discourse about affirmative action from race-based preferences to class-based preferences, a shift which has become a pretext for eliminating racial preferences in higher education altogether. Now, given this historical context, what is the current Harvard University case on Asian American admissions really about? What is affirmative action, and has it fulfilled its intended purpose? Is diversity even important in higher education, and if so, how do we define it and, more importantly, achieve it? Here to help us understand these questions within a broader context of educational equity is Professor Frank Wu, author of Yellow, Race in America Beyond Black and White, and co-author of Right and Reparation, Law and the Japanese American Internment. Before joining UC Hastings, Professor Wu was the very first Asian American faculty member to be hired at Howard University, the nation's leading historically black college, where he taught for decades. Prior to his academic career, Professor Wu held a clerkship with the late U.S. District Judge Frank J. Katiski in Cleveland and practiced law with Morrison and Forster in San Francisco, where he devoted a quarter of his time to doing pro bono work on behalf of indigent clients. He received his BA from Johns Hopkins University and his JD with honors from the University of Michigan. Please join me in welcoming Professor Frank Wu.
Good afternoon, friends. It's great to be here on the Berkeley campus. You know, I almost came to UC Berkeley. I was admitted and I was going to study architecture. I wanted to be an architect my whole life, but the Vincent Chin murder in Detroit in 1982 made me realize the importance of standing up and speaking out. I just mention that because for so long, Asian Americans haven't been part of the picture. We've been left out. We've been characterized either as perpetual foreigners, having no rights here, having our hearts elsewhere, being asked, where are you really from? And being complimented, my, you speak English so well. Or we've been characterized as the model minority with no problems to speak of, doing so successfully that we're held up and used to taunt others. Look at the Asians, they made it, why can't you? So Asian Americans have always had this ambiguous role. And when we've tried to insert ourselves. Others have taken advantage of us. Those who don't know the history of Asian Americans, including many recent Asian immigrants themselves, because this history has been pushed to the margins, even though it's really at the mainstream. It's in the news every day. You may know birthright citizenship is being challenged. Well, that was established more than a century ago by a Chinese restaurant worker born in San Francisco who litigated up to the Supreme Court to establish that he could re-enter this, his homeland. This is all a way to set the context, to say that we've always been a part of the story, we just haven't been at the center of the story. So the question is, as we're introduced more fully into this picture, can we do that for positive purposes, to build bridges to other people of color, to realize the ideals of this nation, that city upon a hill? Or will it always be to divide and conquer, to be used as a pawn, to be inserted to denigrate African Americans, Latinos, and others? Let me start by framing. You know, in law school, that's the first thing we work on. How do you frame the issue? Because how you frame the issue, the advocate who is presented to the U.S. Supreme Court the question to be answered has already won the debate. Because when you're able to frame the issue, the parameters, you shape everything else about the discussion. And this often is framed as a debate about affirmative action. And right now it's being framed as Asian Americans versus affirmative action. You have to pick sides. Either you're with the Asian Americans or you're with affirmative action. It can't be both. Let me challenge that. You know, I've been asked to debate about affirmative action often, and I've done that. I've debated people such as the author Dinesh D'Souza on television more than 20 years ago, and I still get calls from TV producers, from radio programs, and college campuses. Will you come and debate this person or that person? And I usually say, no, I won't debate. And I want to take a moment to explain why. Because to debate affirmative action is to make two mistakes right at the outset. The first is to engage in a debate which is about sound bites and slogans. It's about who gets more laps, who has the better cheering section, who has the fancier suit, right? Debates are superficial, they're shallow. They posit that you must be on one side or the other side. We'd be disappointed if we went to a debate, whatever our view, we'd be disappointed if one of the one of the debaters said to the other debater, you know, you have a point. Maybe we can compromise here, right? That's not what we're going to see when we go to a debate. We want people to be angry. We want them to have fiery rhetoric, right? Well, that's not helpful. Race is volatile, it's contentious, we all have a stake, we all have our own opinions, we're all positioned in some way. Nobody is neutral, not even Asian Americans, although they're depicted that way from time to time. So I propose a dialogue rather than a debate, and I'll leave plenty of time for questions because it's so important. Dialogue is what drives a democracy. Our ability to listen, to hear out others, to say, you have a point, to actually bargain and negotiate so that we don't always have one winner. That's the point of a two-party system. It's the point of participation. It's the point of civic engagement. So I propose dialogue, not debate. And I would suggest that we not start with affirmative action. Here's why. Affirmative action is a name. It's a label now given to a hodgepodge of programs. Some are mandatory, some are voluntary, some are public institutions, some are at private schools. They originally started with a remedial focus. That is, they were meant to make up for a past wrong, but now they have a distributive focus, a forward-looking focus. So it's not always about how do we make up for a wrong that was done before, but instead, how do we build the society that we want to live in? How do we ensure that classrooms, especially at a flagship public institution such as this, are inclusive and offer meaningful access? That's the challenge I would set for us. Not should we have this program or that program. Sometimes people characterize me as an advocate for affirmative action or a defender of the program. Yeah, I am that. I have testified in front of Congress, I filed legal briefs, I've done all that. But I'd rather be remembered as someone who stood up for principles, for ideals, for the notion that all of us should have opportunity and not be judged by the color of our skin, including in the ways that aren't just de jure, as lawyers call it, by law, but also de facto, meaning the implicit bias, the structures around us, the legacy of history, the burdens that we bear in this society of ours. We didn't just wake up one day and find ourselves in this situation. There's so much prologue that went before us. So I would frame this as a discussion, not a debate. And not about affirmative action, but rather about this question. What as a society are we prepared to do if we think that it's wrong for a hall such as this to have only whites, or only whites and some Asians, and no African Americans, no Latinos? And you know what's interesting? People, almost everyone, in the past couple of years this has changed a little bit, but people of both political parties, responsible leaders, whether of corporations or college campuses, if you ask them, whatever their politics, whatever their backgrounds, if you say to them, is it right for there to be 0 African Americans at an institution? Even if you aren't a constitutional law scholar and you don't have some highfalutin theory about why, most people would say, well, that is troubling, at a minimum. If you look at a picture and every single employee is male and there are no females, if you look and you see that there isn't any representation, we're all at least vaguely disturbed by that. And so people profess, whatever their politics, whoever they voted for, they profess that they would like inclusion in some meaningful way. So that's the challenge I set for us together as a community. How do we achieve that in a way that's fair? So let me start with a few facts. I'm going to start with just 3 statements that are not about Asian Americans, and 2 statements that are not about Asian Americans, but 3 statements that aren't about this debate. They're just background statements. The first is that resources are scarce, and seats at elite institutions, whether it's Harvard or Berkeley, and in its own way, this campus is like Harvard. This is a flagship campus. It is elite. It is selective. Every one of you who is a student here occupies a seat that many others vied for and would wish for. Why do I start here? Because it's important to understand something. This is true here, it's true at Harvard, it's true at every one of the institutions where there's a controversy about admissions. There are so many applicants, the demand for these seats is so high, and the supply so limited, Harvard could kick out every single incoming freshman, readmit a brand new class, and nobody would know, except for the people who were kicked out. What I mean by that is if you look at the median or the mean SAT or undergraduate GPA and so on and so forth, it wouldn't budge. The choices we are making here are not between qualified applicant and unqualified applicant. It's among people who are qualified because the pool is that vast. This is important to understand because so many people are anxious and they say, you know, I had perfect scores and I didn't get into such and such school. Well, you know what?